Good morning and welcome once again to our weekly webinars. Again, I am John Newstreet, your Kissimmee Osceola County Chamber of Commerce President and CEO. Our mission statement here at the Chamber is to be champions for business and community. So this is the 7th weekly webinar series. We've done some additional webinars on various topics. All of those are archived either here on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, or on our COVID-19 dedicated resource page at KissimmeeChamber.com. So we encourage you to continue to stay abreast of topics that we're bringing to you to keep you prepared and not only to survive COVID-19, but to succeed as we reopen, which is where we are now, stage 1, heading into stage 2. And of course, the data is still looking positive. We want to do this right. We want to be careful. But this has had an impact on our businesses. That's what this webinar series is about. So today we're going to talk about business interruption services. If you have a question during this webinar while live, you can put it in the thread here in the Facebook thread. We're monitoring that. We will answer it throughout the course of the discussion. Certainly if you're watching it as an archived footage, you can still put comments in. We'll do our best to respond to any questions that arise after the fact. So if we're able to bring up our guest for today, this is Alex de Jorge. He is with Brightway Insurance, and Alex has become a good friend to those of us in the Chamber as one of our leaders. He's the chairman of the Parkways Business Council. So if you're in that area, anywhere in the Hunters Creek, Osceola Parkway, John Young Parkway area, even into Buenaventura Lakes. If you're a business owner, we'd love to have you connect with Alex to see how we can help you more. He's done a great job there for 2 years, and as chair of the PBC, the Parkways Business Council, he also sits on the big board, as we call it, of the Chamber. So he's a great leader and a great voice. He's an Army veteran, so he's got a real strong voice, and he's also a former college administrator, so he's got a great background, and he's going to talk to us today about business interruption services. So before you bring up the slides and get into it, we talked just before in the green room about this has impacted businesses, and business interruption services is pretty simple topic as long as you got the right coverage.
Correct. That is correct. And good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is staying safe. I'm glad to have you here. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the idea is just to give you some basic information and possibly answer some questions in regards to business interruption, because it is a topic that has come up quite frequently ever since businesses shut down across the nation. And we just want to give you some tools and some knowledge so that you are able to better understand what this is. So we'll go right into it. Okay, so what is business interruption? A lot of people have a question or want to know what exactly this is. So basically, it's just a type of business insurance coverage that replaces the income that the business has lost due to whatever reasons are stipulated in the policy. And the reason why I say reason stipulated in the policy is because all carriers may have a slightly different meaning as to what exactly is covered under business interruption. So there is not one answer across the board that is the same. Okay, there was going to be some fine tuning in there in the fine prints that you're going to have to read. Okay. It is usually this type of policy is not a standalone policy, meaning you just can't go to your agent and say, "Hey, can you just sell me a business interruption policy?" No, this is something that you would have to add to your existing policy. It is called an endorsement. So you would go to your insurance agent and you would say, "Hey, I would like to add this coverage to my policy," and then your agent should be able to help you and explain to you further in regards to that. Okay, so on the next slide, so what does it cover? So it covers things like operating expenses, payroll taxes, loan payment, and that is just to name a few. And again, it is different for every carrier, so the details are going to be in the fine print. And normally you will find that in your policy jacket, which is the document, the really thick document that you get on your policy, that it details everything that your policy has, and an explanation and coverages of what those coverages those coverages include and do not include. Okay, and that's very important because not all of them are created the same. Okay. Okay, so next slide, please. So what does it exclude? Well, the one thing that we're going through right now, unfortunately. So most business interruptions specifically exclude losses to pandemics. There's usually a viral exclusion clause in the policy. And this is nothing new. This is nothing that just came about right before the coronavirus pandemic. This is something that's been there for a very, very long time. So again, nothing new, but it is there. I know this has been a source of conversation within the government, because I know the government has requested that insurance companies pay based on this. So it has become, I would say, a very hot debatable topic. As to what will happen eventually, we do not know. But I am pretty certain, pretty sure that after this is all said and done, there will be some further conversations as to whether this will be included or not under the business interruption. But as of right now, I would say 99%, 99.9% of all business interruptions coverages do not include viral losses due to pandemic. So they would have that viral exclusion. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so what does it include? So this type of policies normally include in a business or in a commercial type policy. You will not see this in a home policy. You will not see this in anything else. It is strictly just for business. And also that would depend on the type of business policy you currently have. This is, like I said, this is not an automatic coverage that is added. You would have to request this. And normally, like in my case, the type of policy that I have for my agency, it just so happens that that carrier did include it in my policy as a courtesy, but normally it is not. You would have to request it. And it's unfortunate because if you don't know what you're looking for, then you don't know what to ask for. But your agent should be able to give you guidance and counsel in regards to this, and kind of take you to what type of things you do need for your type of business, so that you have a complete business package that would be able to provide coverage or adequate coverage for all your needs. Okay. Now, package commercial policies do not, and there's a difference between what is called a BOP, a business office policy, and a commercial package policy. There are two different things. So like I said, on the BOP or on the business office policy, some carriers will include it. On the commercial package, it does not. You would have to request that from your agent. Okay. And again, it's usually an endorsement. An endorsement just means something that you buy back into the policy. So they offer the coverages, it's not included, so you would have to request it, and they would have to add it back to your commercial policy. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, will my insurance cover pandemic-related losses? In reality, at this time, most likely it will not. It will not. Okay. It's just the way that things are written up, or the way it's stipulated right now under the viral exclusion, the way that is written. Normally, a business interruption is meant for or interruptions that are due from a physical event. And if you take a look at a pandemic, is not a physical event. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. You can't smell it. So in the way it's written right now is that it is due to a physical event that causes physical loss. Okay. What policies will cover this situation? At this point in time, most likely not very many, or none, because it has always been an exclusion. And again, this is nothing new. This is not something that just happened. It's just that it's been around for a very, very, very long time. Okay. Now, I know right now there are some companies that are suing their insurance companies for business interruption. And it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen further down the road in regards to this legal matter, because this will create a precedent going forward, and it will do two things. Either it will stay the same, the way the coverage is written will stay the same, or it would force the insurance companies to adapt to a new reality and perhaps include that. Now, with that being said, I have to be honest and say that whenever coverages such as these are added, because I believe that, as unfortunate as this situation is, we may continue to see things like this in the future. Obviously, this is not going to be something that you're going to get for free. It's something that you're going to end up paying a lot more money for in the future if it is to be included in a policy. So it's just not going to be you're going to get it for free and that's it. It's going to come with a price, because obviously, I mean, if you think about it right now, of all the insurance companies that are out there, and pretty much all businesses are stopped, I just don't think that they're going to have enough money to be able to pay out to all of these companies that are closed business interruption. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to develop from this, but I'm sure a very healthy conversation and a very productive conversation is going to come out of this once we are back to whatever normal we're going to get back to. And from there, I'm sure that new things, new coverages may come about this. Maybe not, maybe they will include it. Maybe they will have a modified inclusion to some extent, but it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Now, in regards to all these legal matters, what may end up happening? Well, again, we don't know. This is just starting. This is just a process that is just barely starting. So we need to see what comes about this. But I'm sure that whatever finally happens, it will be to shine a light on a serious situation that is going to have to be addressed. So, in essence, remember, business interruption is due to a physical loss. Pandemics are not a physical loss, so therefore they're not included, and therefore you can technically, as of right now, you can request it if you do have that coverage. My suggestion would always be, please read your policy jacket. And that's, again, the big document that you get once you get your policy. It has everything in detail in there, and it will explain what things are covered under every coverage. That way you understand what it is that you have in your commercial policy. Okay? So that's pretty much it. I'd love to take any questions.
Hey, Alex, good job. I know this is a pretty singular topic, and we've got a few minutes here to stay respectful of our viewers' time. I don't see any questions in the live thread right now, but listening to the presentation, I did want to, you kind of answered a question I had early on about if you have a business interruption policy and you also put in for PPP or EIDL and got it, can you still get paid on the policy? But it sounds like, this is all wrapped into the pandemic and there's no payment if you have
right. But if it was included, technically, yes, you would be able to submit to it. Now, let me give you a case that I just kind of somewhat worked on for a company in Puerto Rico. They were right after Hurricane Maria. Obviously, pretty much all businesses were stopped for a few months. And this particular company did have the business interruption coverage included in the commercial policy. Well, they submitted all the paperwork. They had close to $1 million worth of business interruption. And what happened is that once you submit the claim, it's not as simple as just you submitting it and you getting a check for whatever you say you lost. There's a very detailed and thorough process that goes into determining exactly what you've lost. So once you submit the claim, what will happen is that the insurance company has their forensic accountants, and they will start looking over the information that you submitted. They will certainly ask you for a lot more information. And at the end, they will come up, they will either agree with the amount that you submitted as a claim, or they will come back and say, hey, we think you're either, it's never going to be more. It's probably was going to be less. So they're going to come back and say, hey, we came up to this number, and this is the reason why. So in essence, this company submitted their claim up to $1 million. It took about, I would say, about 6 months before they were able to settle with their insurance company, and they had to settle for $500,000. So as you can see, it is not as simple as just submitting and getting it back. There is a process. This company had to submit a ton of basic financial paperwork, because the insurance company's forensic accountants, they want to know exactly. They want to be able to make sure that whatever you say you lost, you really lost. So
that brings up really 2 points. And before I get to that, I just want to say the fact that they exclude pandemic, the fact that they put you through the ringer to pay on something you faithfully submitted your premiums to, is a very tough pill to swallow.
It is. It is.
And so, but that being said, the 2 points to address are, if you do have an exclusion policy, whether it applies outside of this pandemic and it would qualify, the 2 important things are to obviously work with your agent. Probably don't call the insurance company, but go through your agent to have an
go through your agent. Yes, your agent.
Okay. And then the other thing would be timing doesn't matter. So, as soon as it's not like you want to wait till the pain is real. If you have this policy and you can justify it and have all the proper documentation, then you don't want to have to. I'll relate it to the PPP. Say you get the PPP, you wouldn't necessarily want to time it to say, I'll wait for PPP to be over and then file. You can go file dual and just go for.
Well, correctly. Yes. If you have it in your policy and it is a coverage, you have a right to that. I mean, there's no ifs or buts. I mean, the PPL and everything else is just beside the point. But if you have that coverage, you are entitled to file a claim under that coverage. If you have it and it covers it, yes. Now, what they're going to pay out at the end is a different story. But you do have the right because you have that coverage and you are paying for that coverage. So, yes, you do have a right. Yes.
So we have a great question. Is there an indirect way to claim? So say you don't close due to pandemic, but the business you support is closed to pandemic. So I'll take this right to the vacation rentals. Vacation rentals are banned from opening right now from the governor's order.
Right.
And so that pool service company can't service the pool. So could that pool service company file a claim?
No, because the cause of the work stoppage is a pandemic. It's not due to a physical loss.
So again,
the event.
So the insurance company is going to find every angle to.
Yes.
Your example, you paid for $1 million coverage. They paid half of it. I mean, how does that? That just blows my mind.
It is, but that's reality. And again, and this is what I tell my clients: please read your policy jacket in detail. I know it's boring because it's thick, and it's got a lot of stuff in there. But when it comes to your coverages, read, because it will tell you exactly within every coverage. Where if you say, for example, business equipment, right? If you have a coverage for business equipment, it will tell you up to what amount, and it'll tell you what's included in there and what is not included in business property. So when you go file a claim, if you know what's in there, then you'll be able to say, I do have a right to file a claim, or no, I do not have a right to file a claim for for my business property because it's not covered under the business property coverage. So
let me ask.
yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so take us on a tangent, but it's related. So whether it be business interruption policy or any issue you may have with an insurance company, can you talk about the Office of Insurance Regulation or ways the consumer can say, I'm not happy with this, and how do they address that?
Well, yeah, you can certainly complain. I mean, if you feel that the insurance company is not living up to their end of the agreement, you can certainly complain, and the Office of Insurance will certainly look at it. But obviously, it's going to have to be based on what you have, based on what you've got in your policy versus what reality is. So if you have that coverage and they didn't pay and you met all the criteria and they failed to pay, for example, then you have a right to complain, and the state will look into that. Because if there's one thing our state has, the Office of Insurance Regulation is very stringent, is very hard on the insurance companies. So if there's any wrongdoing, I assure you, they will be looking into that. But if it's something that's excluded of your policy and you just want to claim it, or you just want to complain just for the sake of complaining, and you don't have nothing to back that up, then it just falls mute.
So we've got another question, but
Sure.
do you have handy the number they might call it OIR? If not, I'll ask Christina to research that and put that in the thread.
No, I do not have a handy. No.
Okay, so Christina, maybe we can do a quick search and try to get that in the thread for folks. And another question, Alex, do you recommend having this coverage for future events, especially since we are coming out of this unfortunate coverage, especially heading into hurricane season? Is it worth checking to see if you have it? So
yes,
very good question. Hurricane season is not exempted, and
right.
and so just you want to talk to that at the benefits of having it, because
Sure.
some of this is a tough pill to swallow. It sounds discouraging, but
it is, and it is unfortunate, but there's nothing wrong with having it. So if you can get it, definitely get it, because obviously, pandemic aside, hurricane season comes around, something happens. God forbid we have a bad hurricane year and business is stopped again, then, hey, that is covered and you have a right to file. And at the end of the day, in this particular case that I worked in Puerto Rico, they submitted $1 million, they got $500,000. Well, at the end of the day, it's better to get $500,000 than to get absolutely nothing. So, and although it is, again, they came back and said, hey, look, you submitted all this, you claiming all of this. We're looking at it, and we're only coming up to this amount. We're not coming up to the amount that you say you lost. So, but again, $500,000 is a lot better than having absolutely nothing. So I recommend it, but have that conversation with your agent. Your agent should be able to sit down with you and take a look at your policy and your type of business, and sit down and have a healthy conversation with you and say, hey, look, let's take a look at this. And let's see how this will benefit your particular business. Again, every business is different. And in my particular case, for my agency, mine's included. And I haven't had to use it, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hope I never have to.
If you needed to use it, you definitely want to cash in.
Exactly. If I need it, it's there, and it'll cover up to a certain amount. And hey, I'm okay with that.
But it's not like you don't want to cash in on it because your premiums will go up. I mean, if you have a justified use and you've been paying this insurance coverage, you should cash in on it. Correct?
Well, here's what I say to that: if you have a legitimate claim, make a legitimate claim. It's that simple. If you have coverage for something and you have a legitimate claim, make it.
So
insurance companies are always going to investigate anyway. But if you have a legitimate claim and you pay for that coverage, you're entitled to that.
Mm-hmm. And they can't penalize you for that with higher premiums and things. Yeah.
No.
So it looks like South Carolina, I understand, has proposed legislation to mandate insurers pay due to COVID-19 losses. So do you see Florida maybe following suit? Do you think that'll have any traction? Is it really at the state level, of course?
It is at the state level. And again, and it is that way because of a great country, each state is individual. So the federal government cannot mandate insurance companies to treat everybody the same across the board in every state. So every state's going to have their own say so as to what's going to happen. I don't know if Florida will end up doing that, but I think there's going to be some very healthy conversations in regards to that, because 3-4 months ago, who would have expected this? I mean, nobody. Mm-hmm. I mean, we at least from my point of view, I saw this as just another flu, nothing as horrible as this. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it's just taking everything. I mean, this virus has stopped the entire world.
All right.
So nobody saw this coming, I think, at the level that it is right now. But from now on, obviously, we need to be a lot smarter. And again, I think we're going to have some healthy conversations that are going to produce some very good results coming out of this. As to what will happen eventually, I do not know. But there's probably a reason why insurance companies have that viral exclusion within the business interruption. I'm sure they look at it, but it's there for a purpose.
Yeah, they don't want to wipe themselves out, because this
Exactly.
is hurting all of us, and this is when our businesses need it the most, of course.
Right.
So, well, I'll finish with this last question, and then I'll close out the webinar. But to the point of if it's in Florida's hands, is there a part that the chamber can play, or is there a part that our citizens in Osceola County can play in helping to pursue that? Or
you can always talk to your representatives, your local representatives, and have them take the issue up higher and push if that's what they feel they need to do. I mean, that's what we have elected officials, right? They represent us. We take whatever concerns we have in regards to whatever matter, and they should be able to take that up and work on the issue for us and try to come with a fair solution for everyone. Because again, if depending on how you look at it, you can look at this many ways. You can say, hey, I want my money because of the business interruption, and then you got to look at it from the insurance side. For all of us that are out there, the reason why you pay so little insurance is because the risk is spread across everybody. And I say this, if I was just to insure your only business and you were my only client, there's no way you're going to be paying, $600, $700, $1,000, $2,000 for coverage. You're probably paying tens of thousands of dollars for coverage because it would be just you. But if I have many clients and I spread that risk around, because that's the way insurance looks at things. They spread the risk around. They look at the statistics, they look at numbers, and they say, okay, we charge this premium and we are able to still stay afloat and have enough money to be able to pay for claims, which is something that at least on the residential side, insurance companies have to have what I like to call a piggy bank, which is enough money to be able to pay for X amount of percentages of claims if something wants to happen. And that's there because the state is great enough to have told insurance companies, hey, you want to do business here? This is the way it's got to be, and we're going to hold you to that. But it would be great if you've got that concern, take it up to your local officials, and let them take it up, and let's see what happens. I'm actually very interesting. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this.
Well, I appreciate your time today. I'll speak just briefly we have a government advisory committee at the chamber that evaluates our political positions, always interested in fighting for good businesses and for the community. And so I'll bring it to their attention that, this is a matter that may affect our businesses, and we'll see if we can't be a voice in that process too. But as we go through that process, we work with our membership to vet their opinions and their priorities. So we will look at it as a chamber, and certainly appreciate your time today. Christina was able to get in the comment section the information relating to filing a complaint on your insurance company. So that's just for your information in case you're having frustrations through this tough times. I can assure you, those in the audience, that you won't be complaining about Alex. Alex runs a great business. He's a great friend of the chamber, and so encourage you to have a conversation with him about further questions and needs. But we again thank you all for participating today. Today was Business Interruption Services. Next week we tentatively have planned a webinar on the Open Safely campaign that the local governments are pushing here in Osceola. So Osceola County, the city of Kissimmee, and St. Cloud, both chambers, us and St. Cloud, are collaborating on an Open Safely campaign. So we're going to bring some more information to you next Wednesday on that. And then the week after that, we've got tentative discussion on bankruptcy. So maybe you didn't get this business interruption service. Maybe you're having a real tough time. You don't have the reserves. We want to keep you informed as to all your options, and so in a couple of weeks we'll be talking bankruptcy as well. Hopefully nobody gets there. We're fighting hard to keep you from that, but we want to get you informed. So, Alex, thanks again for today, for being a great friend to the chamber, and we'll see y'all.
Everybody.
See y'all next week. Stay safe.
Take care. Bye bye.